This is the Fujifilm X100T from 2015. It is the third model in the X100 series. After the T came the X100F and the X100V, the latest model. And because the X100V is sold out almost everywhere, the question arises as to whether you can buy a used X100T, which also is a lot cheaper. Let's take a closer look. The first X100 was released in 2010, 1 year after the Leica M9. At that time, everyone who was into street photography looked at the M9. Many people were waiting for a rangefinder with a full-frame sensor. But it was expensive, very expensive if you didn't already have the M lenses. Then it was a little bit bulky and not so silent like the M6. Don't get me wrong, I like the sound of the M9 shutter, but it's not silent. Then there were some other problems with the M9, but more on that in another episode. Leica was faced with the problem of constructing a true digital rangefinder camera, which was very difficult at the time. The main problem was the full-frame sensor, which had to be very close to the lens. Fuji didn't have this problem. It was enough to have an APS-C size sensor and just pretend to be a rangefinder. The look of the camera was very important to the success of this series. Then the Fuji was of course much more affordable than the M9. In 2010 the street photography hype was bigger than ever. The people were literally waiting for an affordable camera like the X100. It was lightweight, ideal for the street with a very silent leaf shutter. It has the perfect lens for streets with 35mm equivalent and an open aperture of 2. Some people called the X100 the poor man's Leica, but I don't think so. Fuji has created its own class with this series. In many things the user experience of the X100 is better than the digital Leica Ms. I think it's a modern interpretation of the M6 at a price that can also be paid by younger photographers. Now to the differences between the cameras. The biggest difference between the models is probably the sensor. The T has a 60 megapixel X-Trans2 sensor, the F a 24 megapixel and the V a 26 megapixel sensor, the new X-Trans4, which is great. This can also record videos in 4K. The V has a flip-up touchscreen and the updated sharper lens. The old is a little soft when wide open. In comparison, the X100T is also noticeably slower. Playing children, animals or sports are sometimes problematic. With the X100T you have to take your time when shooting. Despite the older sensor, the image quality out of the camera is nevertheless fantastic. You have the Fujifilm simulations like Classic Chrome or Velvia. Then there is this great bright hybrid viewfinder. It is the best one next to the M6. You get an optical viewfinder with an overlay of your settings, the frame and the focus, or you can choose an EVF. Because it's a fixed lens, you have the possibility to get a conversion lens, which gives you a view of a 50mm. It works very well without losses in image quality. There is another one, a wide angle with 28mm. The X100T has a built-in flash, but Fuji has this nice little flash, the EF X20. With manual setup and slave mode. I also use it often with other cameras. It is very good for learning how to work with a flash. I think the X100T is a good compromise if you can do without the high resolution and other features of the X100V. It is the perfect balance between the old analog style and one of a modern camera. If you are looking for that film feeling, for that analog experience, then go and get one of the X100 series. You will not regret it.